too. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it is a very exciting time, but of course for the Unicorns of Love, keen to close this out, keen to move into the bracket stage as a first seed. Very big boon to the team overall, but as we enter picks and bans, Vladimir, interestingly enough, instantly taken off the table, limiting some of those late game scaling options. And Pantheon, honestly, a stock standard ban. No one really wants to see that champion on the other side of the team.
Yeah, as this tournament progresses more and more, I think it will be a red side ban until teams actually are willing to play against it with how unanimously he has been banned in these games. The Vladimir ban is for triple. His mid lane Vladimir has been very strong, and Mammoth honestly just kind of going fairly generic with their ban so far.
Yeah, the Kiana, the Pantheon, kind of, it feels like because they're on red side, do not want to give up any of those power pick first picks, but the Yuumi is up.
Well, they banned Kale here is the question, because they banned it when they were on blue side, and we got to see how strong it was. So I think that's a smart ban by them as well.
Well called, Jad. Once again, we see the Skarner banned by the side of UOL, not wanting to put that in the hands of Babbitt. Of course, did kind of ruin a lot of their plans with a pick like the Jungle Echo in the previous game, even if Babbitt wasn't necessarily the most active jungler. But now, the Syndra coming out, response on the opposite side will be the Xayah, as well as the J4. Very interesting, trying to get a bit more proactive jungler in the hands of Babbitt.
I like the J4 also because we literally just watched Galio in mid lane, and I think it would be possible for Triple to do a Galio J4 combination, but they still keep many of their options open, and this will also be a question of whether or not Unicorns want to use a pick to disrupt Xayah Rakan. Just put Edward on Xayah, run it with, on Rakan, run it with Kai'Sa, and have the potential to still find success that way, but they instead just make sure to grab Rek'Sai, who they won with in day one against Clutch.
And now the Renekton as well. So actually a ton of comfort picks coming out here. And I like that they're denying triple Syndra as well. Have secured the Renekton for boss on the top side, potentially. Obviously still room for a flex into the bottom lane. But overall, in terms of just comfort, Unicorns of Love have a lot of very powerful champions.
Yeah, and importantly, a lot of CC. They are right now, though, on a bit of a clock, so to speak. Renekton, Rek'Sai as a duo, very potent gank. Not incredible late game scaling, but scaling is relative to your opponent, and we don't know what Mammoth is locked in yet.
No, definitely not. But Xayah, of course, can be a terrifying late game threat. It'll be difficult to lock down for a lot of these champions, but I love having a Syndra, and I love having the fallout from a Rek'Sai or a Renekton. But as we've often seen in these games, laning proficiency, early game, often the big deciding factor. That's where Unicorns of Love are investing heavily for now. But the Morgana will be taken away, limiting the champion pool of Edward. He's been kind of a feast or famine support player domestically. So good to see his champion pool cut down at least a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that the Syndra is locked in also keeps that open as a flex pick. There's been so much Syndra bot lane when following Tracking the Pros and high elo Challenger US solo queue, where all of the pro players have been playing. So a lot of flexibility left for the Unicorns.
And a lot of setup as well. See if they want to follow up with some more damage or if they want to provide something that can maybe protect the Syndra. One of those choices taken away. I actually really love Syndra plus Thresh, the Lantern, to get an immobile champion out is such a nice tool to have, but Mammoth will not let it go through. And now they're going to debate. They, of course, have the luxury of last pick. They can figure out to a certain degree where a lot of these options from Unicorns of Love are going to end up. And then Nico, an interesting final ban coming in from the side of UOL.
Yeah, because of the flexibility from Unicorns, Mammoth would like to be interesting. They're hovering Orianna. I'm wondering what they're looking to play top lane, because that's most likely against the Renekton. And instead, they're going to give even more options for Unicorns to flex pick. I don't think Unicorns would have gone Orianna mid, Syndra bot, but they might have because they had physical damage in both Renekton and Rek'Sai.
See if they want to split any more. What the final picks are going to be here for Staz UOL. Only 10 seconds left before they have to lock at least one of them. And it's interesting. I like a lot of what Mammoth are putting together. I like seeing Triple on a bit more of a control mage. It looks like they are going to respond with LeBlanc, however, heading into the mid lane, which will confirm the Syndra moving on to the bottom side.
Man, this is real early game, and Mammoth has the outscale. That's going to be the pressure of this game at UOL.
Well,
they're going in, and they're going in early.
And gotta say, you're not playing against the Sivir like we've seen this combo play against before. There is no spell shield, so pre-6, If King gets caught out at all, he is very likely just going to get 100 to 0 if a jungler is there. And the final pick will be the Kennen on the top side coming in for Fudge. He's mostly been playing, you know, kind of the leftovers, I feel like, for his team, the Karm on the top side. This time he gets something with a little bit more power into his hands, but has to go toe-to-toe with Boss. A tall task after what was a dominant performance from him earlier today.
Yeah, all very known champions locked in by both UOL of Mammoth, and I also feel like fairly fitting for how these teams perform at their best. And I know we did just see Unicorns of Love pick a late game scaling comp and beat Clutch, but at their core, Unicorns love being a very aggressive team, and Mammoth actually doesn't have the best late game macro, so securing the scaling might allow them to be a little more comfortable here in this incredibly pivotal game.
Huge for both these lineups, and you heard from Edward, they want to play faster, and well, this is a chance for them to do so, and kind of a pressure that they have to do so to a certain degree. But as we look at both compositions, I feel like, you said it already, Unicorns of Love, it's all early game, so eyes, once again, as it feels like it always is, on Anonasik to be the difference maker in a lot of these lanes. Maybe it's straight to bot lane, maybe he tries to snowball the LeBlanc with the Renekton. So many options, and Mammoth have to read the play and have to stop him in his tracks.
This is way more tense than I thought playing was going to be at the Unicorns versus Mammoth game. I just want to kind of take a step back and acknowledge that fact. When so many of the play-ins have gone, the Pool 1 team gets first in the group basically every time, 7 of 8 times. The only time it didn't happen was with HKA. To now be in this point where the Pool 2 seed with the win secures first, and the Pool 3 seed with the win has the opportunity to get first themselves if they were to win out and beat Clutch. I mean, it's just, this group has been thrown into absolute chaos, and I love it.
I love it too. Unicorns of Love versus Mammoth. Can Mammoth find another win here? Once again, going up against the full weight of the Unicorns of Love army standing behind them. But Chad, I think it's a fantastic point. I mean, you have to imagine the timeline where, hold that thought. We might see Boss trying to find a big advantage here. Instant press the attack. Good damage.
Probably force him into a recall.
Fudge with the Klepto, though, you know, it'll cost him a little bit of early presence on the map, but
he's laughing.
Fudge makes money.
10 gold. Take that, boss.
Nice trade, Renekton.
Yeah, what you'd actually what you actually should see here is, because Fudge got pushed back, you'll see UOL get a deep ward because they know the cannon is gone. So
there you go.
10 gold to allow the enemy team to scout your jungler. Yeah, it is a nice trade, actually. I think Boss will take it.
It's directly selling out Babbitt. He just brings like, if you give me 10 gold, I'll tell you exactly. I'll chat it to you. Why not?
Yeah. Nice ward, Renekton.
Oh my god. Of course, early game is crucial though, and I like that we're already seeing Mammoth move in for a bit of aggressive early vision, going to lay some down, but of course it's already responded to on the side of Unicorns of Love. And this time they're not going to try to contest. It's not the previous game. They've already responded. Rek'Sai already moving to the top side to start blue and to get his jungle pathing kicked off.
Practice makes perfect. Hey, if you're not going to be able to win that level 1, don't sit around. That only has to happen once on stage to every jungler before they immediately go for the buff trade.
Babbitt going mid.
Ooh, he's racing him.
Yeah, I think he hurt Vedius. He said, I have officially ganked before 2 minutes, Vedius. That's 18 minutes sooner than you said I would.
And he's got both reds. So, sweet. That's a good start for Babbitt.
Yeah, still difficult, I think, to duel against a Halo Blades Rek'Sai, but will be much healthier throughout his entire clear with that extra regeneration. And can just try to pull ahead a little bit here. We'll see if the vision is used by the side of Unicorns of Love in that exchange, or if he'll even go to the Krugs in the duration of that ward. We'll at least know that he's not going there now as he turns his attention toward the bottom side, trying to 3-buff the opponent. I like it from Babbitt, a bit more, you know, on top or active early jungle pathing.
Yeah, and really, the game will start when the first jungle gank happens. There is so much gank assist on both sides of this game. Like, Leona Syndra is a devastating engage combo on either Xayah or Rakan. So Anonasik really wants to probably play around this bottom side and just set King back, since we know Mammoth is going to be heavily around scaling, and the best way to delay scaling is to attack the enemy marksman.
And the good news for now for the side of Mammoth is that as they are shoved under tower, there's not really any dive threat currently from Edward in Inax. Inax can obviously poke, but Edward as the melee Leona, yes, his all-in is very potent, but he has really no harass as this lane starts to play out. But using that lane pressure to push in onto the bottom side, Babbitt is, of course, already taken the camps, though, so it will only be the crab secured by Anonasik.
Yeah, I want to see where Nanasik goes here because he has the chance to double scuttle, which will basically equalize the lane, but BABIP is actually racing him to it. If BABIP gets this, he's just well ahead of Ananasik in this lane, but BABIP shouldn't be allowed to stay for this because they don't have mid lane priority.
But Ananasik is going to know something is up when he sees that the crab is uncontested.
Hasn't seen the Jarvan yet, so they might not think he's here. Here comes the gank.
Boss stepping forward. The stun is there, but he's already been locked up. He's going to get knocked up, and he's going to get taken out. First blood going to BABIP in the early game.
BABIP stepping up after some questionable moves in day one of group stage. We talked through all the possible pathing decisions. I can't necessarily blame Boss for that play because they didn't see BABIP, and the fact that BABIP never even aggroed the crab didn't give a tell that he was potentially up there. Boss really just wanted to finish shoving this wave, then he could recall, and he had his jungler in the river, so he probably thought he was safe, but those are the types of small margins where junglers can make an impact.
And we compare this to day one. Fudge was on an island. Fudge, we got him the top attention seeker. It was not from his jungler. Minus 4.6 jungle difference. Going to have to hold that thought as we see a bit of aggressive trading on the bottom side. Looks like nothing will come through, just an aggressive trade. But really, Fudge was getting dove repeatedly. Yes, he played very well, but this time around, it's a different story. The play continues on bottom side. Fudge off to a much better start. Bab up there to support him.
Yeah, you always got to adjust your expectations in these bot lane mage matchups because you see an AD carry get chunked to like 30%, and you're like, whoa! Oh, he's completely out of cooldowns. So he's just going to health push him back up after that one. They need to get the first burst. But man, you can see Ananasik really is getting chased around the jungle by BABIP. Still has the level disadvantage.
Ooh,
nice
good interrupt. Halo Blades is still there. It's a lot of damage that can't come out. Fudge
flash.
Kind of finishes one
they might kill him.
Tunnel's there. Can they follow it up? Risky from Ananasik. Boss just dashes right out, but a lot of time burn for that one. Jungle camps that could have been taken in the meantime.
So, a very good start for Mammoth in terms of trying to pull themselves up to 2 wins and try and replicate what they did on day one. And you just get, I just saw Dracos did like a little dance.
I did a little dance. I'm like,
looking for the triple 2-2 group.
One step closer to the 2-2-2-2-2-2 group.
Yeah, and just a reminder for the viewers, if we do get a 3-way tie at 2-2, which in order for that to happen, Mammoth needs to win this game, and then Clutch needs to beat Mammoth. There will be 2 tiebreaker games played, and it will be seeded based on of average win time.
Yep.
So I currently don't know what those are, but I guarantee you we will touch it on broadcast and tell you who has the advantage, especially when that Mammoth Clutch game is happening.
So for Mammoth, hoping to find a win here, potentially looking at a very long day if tiebreakers come through. But we'll have to find out. And for now, it's kind of eyes on UOL to see what they can do to get a bit more control of this game. Currently a 1K gold lead for Mammoth. The pressure on them to snowball.
Yeah.
But on the upside, UOL, we talked about it. Very early game focused. Still, admittedly, very early game. But,
yeah. I mean, as far as like who needs to do something right now, it's UOL who needs to do stuff to Mammoth. Mammoth, I think, has the outscale.
Cannon ult goes in. Boss going to get locked up twice. Fudge trying to get a bit more damage. That has to be careful. Extending the trade is not in his favor. Good play from Boss, but Fudge with quick reactions to get out there.
Yeah, but will actually be unlikely to stick around here and doesn't have teleport to get back to wave. So that little flash trade right at the end, actually quite impactful because that's a minion waves worth of experience and gold that Boss is able to get out of Fudge.
Good exchange.
Yeah.
The comeback though, Hextech Revolver won't even, it looks like, doesn't have the TP, so very big favor. And now in the meantime, UOL take this opportunity. They have bot lane priority. They're not worried about the mid lane farm, so they are going to be able to grab the Infernal too. So things starting to shift back to a certain degree, and Unicorns will have favor. Maybe a Boss can continue to carry them through. And honestly, getting closer and closer to level 6. Bot lane is a similar story. The Xayah will get a get-out-of-jail-free card. She has the cleanse. She will have the ultimate soon, but if they can find a play before that ticks over, maybe they can get something done here.
And a second Infernal spawning in 5 minutes. There's a fine line between attempting to outscale and over-respecting the other team. And recall timings, what they were with, you know, teleports being down top lane. I'm a little surprised that Mammoth did give that over to UOL, but it is out of respect of the Leona, Syndra, Rek'Sai, LeBlanc, CC chain. At this point in the game, anyone who gets hit by that first CC on Mammoth dies if they allow Unicorns of Love to group and land all that CC. So I think that's why they didn't go for the Infernal Drake.
And just didn't have the vision, and just had not had the bot lane priority to set up the necessary Dragon Vision. Jarvan will be spotted out by the side of UOL. They can fish or see that play coming. Destiny will not get the chance to engage, so I mean, makes sense, right? Like, you can't walk into Fog of War against the Syndra. It's just not really a viable option at this point in the game. And earlier we saw Vulcan taking Cleanse on the Rakan. Now Destiny has not opted for that. It means he's not the free face check bot that Vulcan was able to be for Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, Mercury Treads are very, very important for Mammoth this game, because so much of UOL will be about chaining one CC into the next, and they need to be able to disrupt that timing in team fights.
Now I have to keep our eyes on top lane, though. You can see Fudge doing very well in gold. Babip actually the gold leader in this game. Surprising to see a jungle in that position, but it's still very early on. But Fudge, Anonisic was present on the top side. A good bit of vision will at least spot out Krugs if they are contested. But Fudge very nervous under that tower, and I think rightfully so. No ultimate available means it's quite easy for Nection and Rek'Sai to threaten that dive. Yeah,
and thinking about what Unicorns can do next, top lane is definitely one of the things they can look for, because they have Rek'Sai at level 6 with Flash. Any lane where he actually makes it in can be a potential kill lane, and Mammoth doesn't have great vision for it, which is why actually both of their soul laners are hugging turret. The early game gank by Babip to actually get ahead of Anonisic Rek'Sai is so pivotal, because when they have these two soul lanes that have to respect the gank assist, normally the jungler is able to take over the game and the jungle, but since Rek'Sai fell behind early, that just hasn't happened, and Mammoth is fairly comfortably scaling into 10 minutes.
Definitely are. Bad news, of course, for them is that in the meantime, Boss able to grab 2 tower plates. That was, of course, traded for the chance for the bot lane to reset towards the top side of the map. Both teams clearly very aware of the power of Rift Herald in an early game-focused game, and it's going to be matched, of course, on the opposite side by the Unicorns of Love. So they're not really going to get any kind of tempo advantage here on the side of Mammoth, as you are already headed topside. Leona's moving up currently and laying down vision to make sure that one does not go over uncontested.
UOL actually has an opportunity here to pull back in the game. They have the teleport advantage on Boss over Fudge if they wanted to just brute force this Rift Herald, since they can also potentially get a 5v4 pick onto Mammoth. So UOL outplayed Clutch at the Rift Herald by ambushing Clutch when Clutch was trying to do it. If Mammoth starts this, then UOL definitely has an opportunity to win a fight.
They need to be very careful. Babip is horrendously overextended. The chains will connect. He does it. He needs to flash.
Yep.
Will be forced out there. Of course, the flag and drag already burned. So small advantage for the Unicorns of Love, but Mammoth not pushing too far in. Edward.
Oh, Edward's isolated.
Challenging Smite comes in. He's going to lock him up, but he's locked in the midst of the tunnel. Are they going to be able to get him? Hourglass comes out. Good damage coming in for King. Hasn't been forced to burn his ult yet, but there comes the Scatter of the Weak. What else can he get? A big ultimate coming in. Boss on the backside trying to clean him up. Babip has gone down. 1 kill over to the Unicorns of Love. They have control of the area for now, but they are at a man disadvantage. Edward forced back. Anonisic forced back. And the play is going to stop in its tracks.
Yeah, both of these teams understanding the power of a pre-14-minute Rift Herald, not willing to concede that objective, but Edward being a little bit caught out of position is what drove this play towards action. And it also shows us why UOL is so favored in these mid-game fights, because even though Edward got taken low and had to burn his ultimate on a solo Jarvan, when the TP comes in, one Renekton sitting in the middle of 4 people is able to just distract them easily as they clean up the kill. So while getting caught, UOL still wins that fight 1-0. Mammoth needs to continue to try and scale.
When you talk about early game power, I think Renekton is the definition of early game power. He and Lee Sin, of course, right up there on that list. And you can see it in Boss's hands doing a lot of work. Spear of Shojin Rush appears to be the choice. He's going to be lethal in duels as we move later into the game. But also, I think Mammoth not quite respecting the tankiness of the Leona in that play. When you have the Eclipse plus the Aftershock, she is very difficult to kill. They burn so many cooldowns, and the Ignite really the only thing doing damage. So despite that, though, however, Mammoth will still get the setup here on the Herald.
Yeah, I mean, Mammoth, even though they don't have a huge amount of early game tools, are playing quite well to scale up. They have teleport advantage and they use that for Rift Herald, but if that means giving over the second Infernal to UOL, it may not be worth it, and they don't have great vision to be able to rush this.
Second Infernal as well to a team.
They're trying to rush it now.
Renekton. It'll be very difficult. Triple's going to stay around to make sure those plates go in their favor. Dragon has already gone down. Lockdown is there. Fudge instantly deleted, and now they can try to look for a fight. Too clean from the Unicorns of Love.
Edward did such a good job waiting in the top brush for about 25 seconds before that play happened, waiting for Mammoth to go and try and disrupt that second Infernal Drake. Huge Drake spawns for UOL to get that double Infernal, because burst thresholds are going to be so important in this game between LeBlanc and Cinder. That extra damage from the Infernal Drakes will be big.
And you already have Warrior Enchantment, Spear of Shojin, a completed Ludens, presumably No Man's close to his as well, and that's going to be big, big damage in the fights to come. Triple, luckily with the spellbook, can opt to take something like the exhaust to mitigate some of the kill pressure, but it is just going to get harder and harder for this team to survive. And we're still very much in the period of the game where Unicorns of Love's composition should just be objectively stronger in terms of raw champion stats.
Especially with the double Infernal, still able to take down more plates. So remember, if Unicorns win this game, they lock first in this group. Qualify for the bracket stage where they would play the 2 seed from one of the other groups. Such an accomplishment for them and their region.
No matter what happens in that best of 5, just getting first seed in a group like this, in a group with Clutch Gaming, in a group with Mammoth, is big. I mean, it matters.
Yeah, unless, you know, they get first and then Damwon goes 0-2 tomorrow, gets the 2 seed, and draws into them. Now you're talking crazy.
That's true. I mean, like, the thing is you have to be ready. That's the thing about these draws, is you really do just never know, right? Because Clutch could be looking at, like, oh, second, how did we do this? Like, what position could we be in? And then you never know. Who's going to get second tomorrow? Is it going to be Flamingo? And you're like, or first. And now you know, oh, well, now we're playing Flamingo in a best of 5.
I mean, I was saying this before the tournament, but I think a lot of people had overlooked how many games the emerging regions had won in play-in stages in the last few years. They've been slowly taking games and been very close to breaking through. And I thought this was going to be the year where one of them breaks through, or one of the years where a major region that our English language audience cares about wouldn't make it through. That has a chance of happening, but I think we're kind of just seeing UOL being that breakout team right now. We'll see. There's plenty of games to play. It could also be Mammoth with everything we've seen so far. So
true.
Can't wait to see the end of this game.
And remember, it still is a story of scaling for the side of Mammoth. They have the Orianna. They have a Kennen who's going to get scarier and scarier as the game goes, even if he hasn't necessarily gone for the full team fight itemization, instead opting for the Gunblade to help him stay healthy in a lane against the Renekton. It is crazy, though, because I feel like every year we say that. And every year it's like, someone wins a game, and there's one story where you think it might close out, and it never quite happens. But here we are again, Jet.
Yeah,
it feels like this is the year.
I know. I feel like... I hope I don't get memed for saying what I had just said in the previous sentence, because every year we're like, the play-in teams are getting stronger.
The gap is closing.
Yeah, but really, it hasn't necessarily manifested. Last year we saw China break through Korea in the World Final, right? And this year we saw Europe win MSI. There's a lot of upheaval in overall perceptions of regional strength. That's a much bigger conversation that is in this game, and we're not going to be able to prove for or for not in this game, but I think that's a conversation everyone's having this year about what it means for overall League of Legends, and we'll see what happens in this group.
Oh, that's going to be a stun. The lockup, triple with the exhaust. Uses a stopwatch here, buys a bit more time. Rakan coming on the way in, can use triple as a highway to jump in. Locks up Nomans, that's going to be a knock back, and that's the kill for triple. Well played by Destiny to save the day, and they're going to keep going. Fudge wants to take down Edward, uses the ult, just going to get the flash there. And now the pressure's on in mid lane.
Those types of turns are so crucial for Mammoth, being able to take down Nomans, get more gold on a triple, now matching what Nomans has, scaling up with that extra Orianna shockwave damage. But they're still double Infernal, and they burned both of their Soul Lane's ultimates, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to push through for this next turret.
Oh, Destiny does not have... He's instantly dead.
Oh,
that's it. Goodbye. That is a Spear of Shojin Renekton. If there is one champion in the game you should absolutely not face check into, it is that one. Shout out to the guy who just screamed, "Where you going?"
Not bot lane.
Not into that brush, my friend. And that's the thing. In Destiny, you know, I think Guardian is so fantastic for lane, but sometimes I do wonder, Spellbook Rakan, you know, gives you the cleanse in the mid game if you need it. But, yeah, does balance things out a little bit. UOL, 1.5k golden lead, moving up slowly towards 2k as we take a look back at this play.
Yeah, dead center on that shockwave, but a timely stopwatch by Triple gives him enough time. And then right there, if Nomans doesn't flash that Rakan engage, it does mean he's dead. Also,
where are you going?
Unflashable as he walks into that brush.
And if there's any champion that could get out, it would be Rakan, but that is not the case in that exchange. And now actually gives Unicorns of Love a decent opportunity to try to push in and take a bit more control back. But without the mid lane tower, the game is still going to be much more difficult for them to push too far in. Oh my God, fantastic scatter. The weak Bobbin makes it out. Agnostic goes over the wall. Solar Flare just for a little bit more on top.
It's got to be terrifying to play against for Mammoth because UOL just has so many CC tools. Just every single champion brings it to the fight. So Babim, even with Cinderhulk and 2 components for Gargoyle, Stone Point, and Flash, nothing he can do. Once he gets engaged on, he's dead.
Flying Drake came out. That's going to be the TP flank. Destiny off to the side. Triple puts the ball on him. Might be looking for the engage. Destiny has the flash. They're just going to pull back, though. They do get, not a lot, actually, out in the end.
Yeah, Mammoth really on the back foot here as UOL is really looking to break the game open. So top turret down. Ocean Drake actually shouldn't be that high of a priority at 18 minutes for UOL. If they do take it, would just be to accelerate more towards an Elder Drake win condition. And I mean, Mammoth is trying to take it, but it might end up costing them a lot of map pressure. I think this is generally a low importance Drake at this point in the game.
It's going to force them to reset now. Puts Unicorns 11 in a position to potentially threaten Fudge here into the tower. They're not going to take the risk, but you know, that entire play costs them the TP and puts them in a position where they lose the top lane tower as well. So Unicorns Love coming out on top again. 2K gold lead, double Inferno. Once again, a comp that you said, you know, on a clock to a certain degree, but I think ahead of the clock for now.
Yeah, you can buy as much time as you want as long as you have a big gold lead. Watching this fight one more time, an interrupt on the EQ from Inax, and then once that landed, it was just over. Solar Flare for style points by Edward.
That's all you can say in the end. Of course, Renekton going to continue to get scarier and scarier as well. A lot of the defensive stats from the Jarvan are not going to matter. Even he will be on the one-shot list in the eyes of this Renekton.
When he does complete Stoneplate, it'll buy them a bit of time. Like, the reason I keep saying Mammoth has a scaling advantage is eventually the Jarvan will be tanky enough to buy time and eat some of the CC. And then when all the CC is burned, it's the Xayah who's proccing lethal tempo and the big Shockwave combo with Cannon Ultimate, who will have Stopwatch by that point as well to disrupt the CC combo. It just takes so long for Mammoth to get there.
And additionally, outside of the context of a laning phase, Boss, as we get later and later in the game, is going to have a hard time stacking up Fury reliably. You know, empowered ability is really key to a lot of Renekton's aggressive trading. So difficult to execute. Still possible, of course, for Unicorns of Love, but it feels like easier than the mid to late game for Mammoth to pull off a successful fight. That is, of course, assuming they're not at a deficit. And, ooh, Destiny fishing there. Will not find the knockup. Good on No Man's to get out, but clearly Mammoth on the back foot.
Yeah, and with Mammoth being on the back foot, they're trying to get vision control back in this part of the jungle. Since 2 soul laners are shown by UOL, it does mean the Mammoth can stay there. They would hope for a teleport flank, but they don't have any deep vision in there. And whoop, another flash being down just makes them more vulnerable. But it does show 3 bot. Now they can get Edward.
Engage. Triple now coming in and trying to lock up Edward. Just a single support target, but they will be able to find the kill. King going to grab that one. We'll speed him up a little bit, but Unicorns of Love, in the meantime, grabbing a tower. Once again, trading something for something else. Unicorns of Love extending that gold lead. And it just doesn't feel like there's 100% a right choice for Mammoth. They can't just get any clean advantage. And when you have a Leona and a Rek'Sai roaming between 3 lanes who are very successful at pushing out, it's just very hard for Mammoth to find a clean, successful play.
Yeah, and I do think that this style of team composition of UOL, where everyone has the ability to create kill pressure, CC chaining is good, it's all reliant on a mid-game snowball, is potentially going to be much more popular as we progress throughout the tournament and the teams get more confident in their ability to execute and close out games. It is, I think, still a question of whether or not UOL is going to be able to do it in this game, because they do have double Infernal, but they're only 2,000 gold ahead. Banshee's just finished, i.e. not there, but somewhat on the way for King Fudge, working up towards Zhonya's. If Mammoth can actually get to those items, they may withstand UOL and still turn this game around. But right now, UOL still has really all the tools to try and advance this game.
And playing a pretty successful 1-3-1 feels like the most successful example we've seen so far in the tournament. You see a lot of teams maybe building to split push out to generate some mid-game advantages, but it feels like very often it just goes straight back to team fighting. The later we go, so good to see Unicorns Love so successful with a strategy that hasn't necessarily worked that well for a lot of teams thus far. And scaling the name of the game for Mammoth has been, I think, kind of the go-to. We saw Clutch be very successful with it. We've seen it in other groups as well. Splice, up until their game versus DFM, felt very comfortable going for scaling options.
Still trying to break this mid lane turret, though, and I really feel like UOL needs to try and catch Mammoth in transit somehow, and they have fairly good vision control. It's just Mammoth has been decent about not getting caught in transit because they have the one control word in that brush. I really wanted Anonymous Rek'Sai to just go in when they had everyone up there, make sure the vision is cleared. Otherwise, Mammoth can safely go past these areas to defend their turrets when the waves crash.
Asking you shall receive. Now they know the vision is there. They don't have the pressure right now to contest it. However, they're in a position where they have left King alone in the mid lane, and you can see what it's cost him. That's a lot of health. This is going to force him to back, and that means that in the end. And Anonisic is still going to be able to walk into that bush and clear that ward anyway. And that's kind of the position that Mammoth are in when they're behind. They, once again, cannot win any small trade when Unicorns of Love is on the ball.
Yeah, control ward immediately replaced by triple, though. So it's back, and King is halfway back to lane with Syndra ult down. So for now, UOL has not been able to accelerate this game to the space where they want to.
And until they have Baron, Orianna, the classic wave clear champion, can be very easy, especially when paired with a Xayah, to just delete any of these coming creep waves. And Renekton pushing in, and of course, is going to cost Kennen a lot of CS, as Fudge was pulled over just to make sure that there was no dive. However, this is not a triple Infernal. They will grab an Ocean, and as you mentioned, past 5 minutes, maybe not your favorite Drake to see.
So next spawn going to be Cloud. Still, I think Cloud's an underrated Drake, but I've been down that road before. We don't need to have that discussion.
I think in 2019, people are less upset about Cloud Drakes.
Well, because it gives in-combat move speed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, when you're a Leona with Moby Boots, you're happy about any form of movement speed. And now, it just feels like UOL trying to play a controlled game where they choke Mammoth out. They are getting a lot more resources, but they haven't really been able to extend the gold lead whatsoever. You check in on the levels, you've got mid laners even, bot laners even, small difference in the junglers, looks like balanced out now, and really only Fudge is falling behind in terms of raw XP as he's been forced to come into this mid lane over and over again just to make sure that there's not a dive. Yeah, and Mammoth is prepped right now for the stall. You look at the mini-map and their Baron vision, they have good Baron coverage, 4 control wards, one of them just being cleared out, but they also had time to reset and pick up more control wards for that. And the items I'm going to talk about are Zhonya's, Infinity Edge, and Zhonya's. Once Mammoth has that, I think they'll start fighting. Until then, they're going to try and defend as best as possible. Just holding on. You can see Unicorns of Love just trying to kind of force on this wave, slowly chipping down at the tower. Might take a few more setups before they get it, but they are in a good position to do so. And yeah, as you said, waiting on those items. No Man's starting to poke out. Obviously hurts a lot with the flat pen on top of the Luden's Echo, in addition to the double Infernals. But it does feel like the game is stalled out to a certain degree. Mammoth not really giving up any greater advantages. Fudge now moving forward, but it's just going to clear out the wave. That's going to be ulti. Fudge. We'll just use the stopwatch there. One less cooldown for him to have, but he is just a little bit of gold away from the Hourglass. Yeah, he's about 300 gold away from Zhonya's Hourglass, so that stopwatch, well-timed as far as getting that. I mean, the challenge for Mammoth is going to be breaking out of this defensive holding pattern. It is actually quite difficult to play one passive style for 25 minutes and then suddenly flip that mental switch in your head. They should be trying to do something, but for now, they're just playing on the timer of this mid-lane turret, hoping to keep it alive. Trying to clear it out, hoping to clear some of his wave. Destiny now going in, though. Does lock up Edward, but no one else. I think they have to pull back on that one. And Anonisic is on the backside. Fudge, though, continues to press forward, uses the Gunblade. Of course, has the stopwatch, too. Will just back off. But you can see that Mammoth are starting to feel a little bit more confident, fishing for some of these picks. And really, the only weak point on the map feels like Boss is able to freely push that wave in over and over again. They're going to try to turn that, though. And Anonisic just goes right in onto Fudge. The ultimate has been pulled out. Won't get the Hourglass, but that ultimate being down is crucial. Yeah. Getting ult down out of Fudge is big for Boss's ability to try and damage that turret, but the fact that he still has Flash means he ultimately can't get anything done with it. Gold lead's slowly creeping up, though. There's a lot of side waves that are getting lost to a few random turret shots, but Triple actually having the time to go up to that top lane to shove it in is indicative of UOL's inability to apply the right amount of pressure, and having that mid lane turret still up at 27 minutes is a win for Mammoth. It's interesting because it feels like we've seen two forms of UOL. One where they kind of limit their win conditions, and one game where they have, a lot of variety and some more crazy picks. And yeah. Second time that they've done this versus the likes of Mammoth, where we haven't seen them go for something like the Heimerdinger, the Kaels in the mid lane, instead going for a lot more, I guess you'd say, traditional comp outside of the bot lane Syndra. See what they can do to maybe turn that around and transition into a greater lead. Still obviously in lead at this point, double Infernal, 2k gold, kill advantage, 2 tower advantage, but got to close the game out, and that's the big kind of prove-it situation that we've been in for a lot of play-ins, is that teams have really struggled to just end games with a lead. Absolutely have, and it's only a 2.4 thousand gold lead, and with Rek'Sai showing bottom lane so far away from the turret, this gives Mammoth time to get more control wards in the Barren River. That was basically the one thing I was going to say UOL would be able to play around, is the clearing out the control wards in the river, allowing them to try and get Baron Cryo, but still has ulti, still feels comfortable. But this mid lane tower is still alive for Mammoth. You have to feel like this game gets so much easier for Unicorns of Love if they can just force this down, but they have not been able to. And it's really only getting more dangerous as the leads that their solo laners accrued early on are just not nearly as consequential as they were 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. King's still waiting on that IE. He took a detour to Hex Drinker to make sure he couldn't get one shot. They're playing the long con, Dracos.
Willing to do it. And you can see once again, Unicorns of Love shifting their attention to Fudge, fishing for these big plays. Fudge, though, has flash. Will have ult shortly.
Might get him this time.
Dashing through the flash, the stun, the lockup. Can they change the CC policy? They do. Boss taking down Fudge. That's a massive pick for the side of Unicorns of Love. Are they going to stay and pressure this wave, or will they shift their attention to Baron?
Flash Q is one of my favorite things to do on Leona because it lines up the R on a non-Mercury Treads user. Remember I said Mercury Treads are going to be very key in this game, but Fudge wanted to get that damage. Now they can break it open. Get a stun mid. They're going for more.
King, forced to ult, has to pull back. And X Core still with the Syndra ult up and available. Trying to set up, using the Dark Sphere as much as possible. Boss going to break down a tower. Mammoth needs to make a clutch decision. They can't just concede everything. They've given up mid lane tower. They might just give up inhib as well. This is disastrous for Mammoth. All in the back of a single pick onto Fudge. Their entire defense, stalwart up until this moment, has fallen apart. Maybe trying to turn it here onto Boss, but they put too much attention towards Boss. It might turn against them. Mid lane, Rek'Sai and LeBlanc remain. Boss will make it out. Level 16 now, and things looking very good for UOL as they extend their gold lead to 4K and a 4-tower advantage.
Such a big play by UOL because now with the inhibitor down, that requires a nearly full-time defender in that bottom lane, which is the furthest lane from Baron, which is now a big threat. So kind of one of the reasons I think this style of team composition can be more popular later is because, like, think about how well it felt like Mammoth was stalling, right? And then they make one mistake. It's like, now we're down to the inhibitor and a Baron loses us the game. That's kind of what they're feeling right now. So Mammoth's got to do something.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I think we see so much Renekton priority is for situations like this, where normally you feel like he falls off after 1 or 2 items, but with the introduction of Spirit Shojin, he just never really feels like he loses a 1v1 duel, especially against the likes of an AP Kennen. And finally seeing this champion kind of come out on top after what was some very lackluster numbers in the first few days.
Okay, there's the Infinity Edge onto King. The wave is also somewhat pushed out. However, Mammoth doesn't have a flank ward if they wanted Fudge to come in with an ultimate, which is really what I think Mammoth would need to get a full fight onto UOL. So now they're just kind of trying to face check into a bunch of CC from UOL. Let's see what happens.
Bobbin trying to turn this play around, though. Bit off more than he can chew. No Man's now coming down, trying to turn this fight. Edward looks like he may have given up his life. The Boss is on the way in. The ulti comes out, going right into the middle of the team. The King has been absolutely deleted. King now trying to throw something out. Can he pull the CC back? Can he save his team? So much damage for King! Double kill now coming through. A brief moment. Boss now trying to make it out. No Man's. Candace trying to turn this play into an instant. He connects the snare. What else can he get? Triple now trying to step in. The triple kill coming in for King. King so clutch in the moment where it matters most. Inex now running for his life. The ult comes out, but it won't matter. The flag, the drag. Mammoth are back in the game.
They waited 31 minutes for the Infinity Edge and immediately win a team fight. Now it is just Boss alive with no ultimate, and he's teleporting for the base.
He wants to end this.
He's gonna get one turret.
No, but they have to rush Baron. They finish Baron. They get the 4-second recall. They're fine. Boss is going to break a single tower and walk away. It's a good constellation, but he pays with the TP to do so. Respawn on Destiny as well is good to have. That is Baron for Mammoth. The ball is now in their court. 3 minutes where they should have absolute control of this game.
What is happening today, Dracos? Every lower seed has a chance at a comeback, and right here, Edward did not have the support of his team. They didn't have the mid lane pushed up enough necessary, and they are unable to get onto King cleanly. Watch these feathers from King. Not only does he have the ult out, he sends 2 more out the side and rips them through all of UOL. Then still has flash for the follow at the end of this.
And you have to look at this fight from the perspective of the Unicorns of Love, because they started the fight by instantly deleting the Kennen. Kennen did absolutely nothing in the exchange. They had to think that that one was in their favor, but fighting Xayah in that funnel, in that pinch where the feathers could do so much, turned the fight against them. And now I wonder, Unicorns of Love, even if they can win the fight, will they have the confidence to fight against 9k Xayah damage?
9k damage in that fight. I bet he had like 6 in the rest of the game with how much they've been turtling for the rest of this. He definitely had more than 6, but
Gotta
you
get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
So now UOL needs to do everything they can do to disrupt this push bot lane and just get other waves shoving, because Mammoth needs to push into the lane where their inhibitor is down. That's why they're down there with King right now. And UOL, with the scaling advantage, right? One more lost team fight could actually be the game for Mammoth, but because they've killed so many structures already, if Mammoth missteps, UOL can win. We are at that point of just craziness.
Is this the misstep from Nomance? He's going to make it out. Will not get stunned.
Look at all the wave pressure that UOL has in side lane, so they're going to at least get one. No one on Mammoth is back to defend.
This is such a scrappy game. They're just going to try to... Are we just going to base race? Did we just handshake on a base race in the play-ins game that could decide Unicorns of Love?
Okay.
Moving in, Triple's trying to clear it.
Okay, can UOL dive Triple? Because Triple's going to try and wave clear.
Because the wave
just has to get rid of the wave.
Ulti pulls back.
He has no flash.
Cleanse. They're moving all in, but here comes Fudge. He's going to try to turn it. He has the Zhonya's. Edward's going to be in trouble now. They're trying to take out Triple. Moving in. Edward's going to get knocked out. Fudge stepping forward. They've lost an inhibitor tower. All of Mammoth forced back. And at the end of the day, Unicorns of Love have not lost too much yet, but maybe this is the turn. Fudge stepping forward on Inax. They're going to get one pick, but what else can they get? They did not grab any more towers. All things considered, Unicorns of Love have to be happy with this trade.
Well, Mammoth is accelerating. There's a minute left on the Baron power play. They have double TP. There's a minion wave bottom lane. Now UOL has to get back. They will have a numbers advantage early. 3 people can recall, and there's still 3 people from Mammoth who have to make their way down bottom lane.
No man's. Anonisic boss, the top lane of the Unicorns of Love have to hold on here. The mid lane already being crashed in. They're just trying to clear the wave. Triple and Fudge paying them respect, backing off. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, the tier 2 will fall. But instead, they're shifting their attention. The wave is going to crash, and meanwhile, Mammoth are going to move in. They're ready to dive if necessary, but there's no creep wave here. It feels like they should have gone mid instead. They will instead wait for the team to group up. Can they actually pressure here? Can they actually fish for a dive? Can they shift that mentality and know that they are now the aggressors? It looks like the answer is yes.
Well, they have a chance to break one inhib. Inax is up in 5 seconds if UOL want to try a fight. Patience, in this case, would actually be beneficial for UOL, though, because I think they would lose that fight.
And that's it with the final 10 seconds of the Baron. Mammoth can just get empowered, recalls and back off. Destiny will clear a ward. But instead, they're setting up a death rush. Destiny on the retreat. If Unicorns of Love fall into this trap, it'll be disastrous. King isolated, looking like some tasty bait, but we will not find the follow-up. And I'm surprised that Mammoth are staying with the Baron, but falling off.
Yeah, it is a very high-risk play, actually, for them, since their inhibitor is up as well, and they're just really feeling it. I feel like once they got that Infinity Edge, and they had to play 31.5 minutes of pure defense, they're like, finally, our time to fight back. They just can't get a control themselves, but they need to show restraint, since they're at the point in the game where any mistake can matter. Not getting stunned by that first Leona ultimate, so key in buying time for Triple to come back in this one. And then it's just about Mammoth chasing.
Yeah.
Look at the closing distance.
It's huge.
Fudge and Rakan.
And the thing here, too, is that this could have been a fine play for Unicorns of Love, but the double TP really lets Mammoth sustain the pressure on the bottom side, does not let UOL clear out that wave, move to the mid lane, and all things considered works out nicely. Unicorns of Love, don't go back into this part of the map. You have to remember what happened last time.
Well, I think Unicorns is in a really difficult spot now because they do not win 5v5s. So if Mammoth just stays grouped, unless UOL catches them while they're grouping or gets an amazing CC lock on someone to start, they probably lose. There's a cleanse 4-item plus BF sword Xayah with a Maw.
Plus Seeks from the Rakan. So just...
Ooh, yeah, that's true. That's a lot of damage. That is an insane amount of damage.
That is kill 5 people worth of damage. That is, you don't need really any other carry in the fight. Just protect the Xayah and everyone will die at levels of damage. And here's the story of the game. You can see where a difficult early game turned into complete Unicorns of Love control and is now just shifting back in the favor of Mammoth as their scaling finally kicks in.
Yeah, 2,000 gold lead, but a larger advantage when you consider the strength of their champions. But because of the CC ability of UOL, it's still possible they win this fight. It all comes down to execution. Who can the shockwave hit? Who can get a flank engage? Right now, UOL and Edward are going to try and get that flank engage. No Man's going all the way around. Edward might try and force something.
A lot of defensive optimization on the side of Mammoth. They're hoping to find a pick. They've started the info. Oh, he got Fudge! Fudge shut down. No Man's with the hero play. The rest of the team, they need to pull back. Their demand disadvantage. There's no way they try to fight.
They have to try and fight because a 4-stack Elder could end the game for UOL with only one Nexus turret up. So Mammoth must persist in this area at a 4v5.
No Man's can just go right back in. The exhaust is there for King. Or rather for Triple, if he gets the opportunity to use it. Boss
the ultimate on No Man's is back up, so he can full burst another squishy. The squishiest was Fudge, who he targeted. The next one won't be as easy, but this is so dire for Mammoth.
They bought themselves a little bit of time, though. You can see in the mid lane, Inax forced to clear out the wave, forced to stop the minions going in. They're turning their sights on Edward. King just flashes over the wall. No fear, jumps into the midst of the fight. Edward will get an ultimate out, but it's not enough. They've bought themselves more time. Triple now on the hunt, but No Man's off to the backside. They've set their sights on No Man's. They've set their sights on the little Blanc, but he's just buying time for the rest of his team. No Man's goes back in, focusing on Fabib. We'll just retreat. But honestly, No Man's fantastic movement in this game to keep Unicorns of Love hope alive.
And the super minions in mid are pushing UOL back. Now it is on Anana 6 Rek'Sai to try and steal this Elder. He gets vision, but it will be suicide.
He's not going to get it, Jat. My God, what a back and forth game. The Elder, I thought it was done when Kennen died, but Mammoth managed to hold on.
And I gotta say, normally games like this are boring, but when the stakes are so high, it is just incredibly tense, Dracos, because UOL with the win clinches first in the group. Mammoth also moving to 2 would give them the potential to beat Clutch later, and they would get first in the group. They have I'd call this a baby Elder. It's very weak, even though that's a juxtaposition. They're using it for mid priority, and watch the Blanc. He wants Fudge again.
Can you take him out? Zanius is there. In theory,
Blanc is right above Fudge.
We've yet to see the Kennen ult really come to fruition, and Mammoth have still been able to win fights. Triple, now potentially in trouble. Good damage. Triple has to back off. They've lost control of the Baron area. The Elder Dragon, I think, giving them a bit of false confidence when they don't really have the vision set up to be moving in on this Baron.
No Man's has been the star of UOL all summer split long. Best stats in the LCL across many axes, and really, even though he didn't have the most amazing early game, coming in clutch with these flanks in this one. UOL start the Baron. Triple still half health. If No Man's can actually one-shot the Orianna, maybe UOL wins the fight.
Keeping eyes on both. Tension just continues to build. King trying to poke to the wall. He steps in. He's not going to get anything else. The engage is now coming in. They split their attention, but now, once again, Kennen just gets taken punch. Fight off. They don't even need the LeBlanc. He bought so much time, but the rest of the team jumps in. King, it's his time to shine. He needs to start hitting the auto attacks. All eyes on the Zaya.
It's done.
He flashes forward. Can they finish the job? King still wreaking havoc through the backline. King still so incredibly strong. King is going to be the difference maker. Wait for the
done again.
The feathers will come back. It does not matter. The triple kill for King. This man is on fire.
Unbelievable late game carry from King so far. GA still up. They cannot touch him. They are doing their best to escort this minion wave towards the base. 4-man push against 2. No Baron, though. Can UOL wave clear to stay alive in this game?
King sidestep here. Holding on, and on a second Inax. Are they going to be enough? Triple's moving in as well. The scaling once again in their favor. Pressing forward. Well, the Dragon buff should fall off shortly, 10 seconds.
A lot of minions dead.
King, though, hitting the towers. That's all that really matters. They need to clear the minions. If they clear the minions, this gets way easier. Syndra should have the range. She can pick up one of the minions. The TP now coming in, though. They're trying to buy time. He's given his life. Have they overstayed their welcome? Now they're trying to turn. Edward goes in, but finally,
they're on the Nexus.
They're going to turn everything. The Shockwave to seal it, and Mammoth have done it. They've taken down the Unicorns of Love.
There were moments in that game where Mammoth just has to keep typing winnable